Welcome to this edition of CBN News Showcase. I'm Charlene Aaron.
And I'm Mark Martin.
Christians in Pakistan bore the brunt of Islamic terror during their celebration of the resurrection of Jesus. A global terror watch went into effect after the deadly Easter terror attack, which targeted Pakistani Christians and children.
The explosions killed more than 70 people and injured hundreds of others. So how are Christians in the area doing now? We spoke with Dawood Sharif, the president of the Pakistan Christian Congress in Punjab.
Everybody is full of sorrow and with a great grief. And as you know, Easter is a feast and the day of celebration. But when we look in the Christian colonies, everywhere we see silent sorrow and broken hearts. People are very, very broken. People are totally hopeless. So they're just silent. They are not expressing anything. So people are silent. The global church must pray for the Pakistani Christians. They must pray and they must think to help the Pakistani Christians in whatever they have, whatever in their capacity. I feel the government also has some sort of reservations because we are the minority over here, and they must take care of the demands and thinking of the majority. So sometimes we feel that the government is weak.
Sharif is asking the church around the world to pray for the Christians in Pakistan, and you can watch the rest of that interview on our website, cbnnews.com.
Well, if you want to know whether Islam is a religion of peace, ask someone who's studied it extensively from the inside. Someone like author Nabeel Qureshi. Take a look.
Nabeel Qureshi grew up in a loving American Muslim family. As a devout follower of Muhammad, Nabeel memorized portions of the Quran and believed Islam to be a religion of peace. But all that changed on September 11, 2001. For the first time, Nabeel was confronted with the stark reality of jihad. His search for answers about Islam ultimately led Nabeel to faith in Jesus Christ. Today, with terrorism in the name of Allah on the rise, Nabeel tackles the hot-button issue of modern-day jihad in a new book, Answering Jihad, A Better Way Forward.
Our Wendy Griffith recently spoke with Nabeel Qureshi about his book and whether Islam is really a religion of peace.
Thanks so much for being with us on CBN News.
Thanks for having me, Wendy.
Well, let's talk about what happened in Belgium. Did the Quran influence these attacks on these innocent people in Belgium?
That's an excellent question. It takes a lot of background to discuss, but the long and short of it is that ever since the 1920s, when Muslims realized that they started losing power globally, the Ottoman Empire had just fallen, there was a desire for people to reform Islam. Muslims were saying, we need to start pleasing Allah again. We need to earn His favor. So since then, that was the specific effort of the Muslim Brotherhood. Since then, people have been saying, let's try to start following the Quran more. Let's start following the Hadith more. And these reformist groups, as I call them, are the terrorist groups. This is ISIS, this is Boko Haram, this is Al-Qaeda. That is their goal. And so what we saw in Belgium was this Islamic Reformation movement that we're seeing, that they're following the Quran.
So they're getting their marching orders right out of the Quran then?
The Quran plus the traditions of Muhammad's life, the Hadith. Islam is not a sola scriptura faith, so a lot of this stuff comes from Muhammad's life, but yes, from the canonical texts.
Now, you grew up in a loving Muslim home. Your family, most of them are still Muslim. Did you ever hear the concept of jihad growing up?
See, no, we didn't, because growing up, our family was very peaceful. The Muslims around us were very patriotic.
You grew up in Texas?
I grew up in Virginia, and I've lived all around. Okay. Texas has my heart, though. But yeah, we were taught that Islam was a religion of peace. And the thing was...
And your dad was in the military.
Exactly. My dad was in the U.S. Navy for 24 years. Between my uncles, we have over 100 years of U.S. military service in our family.
So you never heard about jihad, let's take over America, let's put the Muslim flag at the White House?
None
was
of that.
Never...
Never. There's, I mean, at least in our community and in the Muslims I have known, there's no vast conspiracy to take over America. Now, some Muslims maybe have that kind of a mentality, but the vast majority of Muslims in the U.S. are very peaceful, loving people. So we need to hold these two things in tension. The truth about what the Quran teaches versus the reality of how most Muslims live.
Well, it's good to know, because when these terrorist attacks happen, it's very hard to believe the concept that Islam is a religion of peace. But you're saying that can happen.
Well, I'm saying that the vast majority of Muslims are peaceful, but that doesn't mean the religion of Islam is not violent. And the fact is that many Muslims have their religion interpreted for them by imams and the like. But when you go to the Quran and to the texts, you can see why the violence is inspired through the canonical texts.
Nabeel, should we here in the West fear Sharia law coming here? We've already seen some cases being brought to us. Fortunately, I think some of them have been overturned, but should we fear Sharia law coming here?
Wendy, I like the way you put the question. Should we fear it? The vast majority of Muslims, again, are not trying to bring Sharia. Some might be trying to influence the West with Sharia laws. It's not going to supplant the Constitution. It really can't. It doesn't work that way. But should we as Christians fear? I don't think we have been given a spirit of fear. We've been given a spirit of power and love and self-control. So I don't think we as Christians ought to respond with fear.
As an expert in multiple religions, how would you suggest people respond to religious beliefs that are different from their own?
I think we should engage with conversation. We should engage with love. See, we've lost the word tolerance. We think tolerance means thinking everyone's beliefs are true. No, tolerance is disagreeing with someone and being able to discuss our disagreements while loving them. So I think we should tolerate in the true sense of the word and love even those who disagree with us.
And one last question. If the president was asking you, how do we defeat ISIS, what would you say?
I would say we first have to understand that this is related to Islam, but that doesn't mean we're throwing all the Muslims under the bus. We can love Muslims while criticizing Islam.
The book is Answering Jihad, and you can buy it in bookstores and online.
The world is looking to the United States to lead the global battle against radical Islam. One Islamic expert says America's military might won't be enough to win if it doesn't have the values and the will to fight. And he's offering some unique advice to the U.S. CBN News' Chris Mitchell has the story.
If America and Europe want victory over radical Islam, they need to embrace their Christian roots, according to Harold Rode, religious Jew and expert on Islam.
The Christian world is a very powerful world if it chooses to be. It has enormous abilities. I want you Christians to believe in your values.
America's traditional Middle East allies have felt betrayed in the past few years. They point to weakness in President Obama's policies that led to the current chaos and violence.
Historically, when Muslims see weakness, they pounce. America, the leader of the West, is showing weakness.
Rode lived and studied in universities in the Islamic world for years. He advised the U.S. Defense Department on Islamic affairs for nearly 3 decades. He says the view of peace takes on totally different meanings between Muslims and the West.
Peace in the West is let bygones be bygones. Let's say you and I had terrible problems in the past. We sit down, you give a little, I give a little, we shake hands. We don't forget what happened, but we work together towards our new goal. We put the past behind us.
As for Islam,
revenge is the basis of everything. If you don't avenge something, you lose personal honor. You are shamed. So there's never peace. You do not let bygones be bygones.
And what the West calls terrorism, Muslims see as classic Islamic warfare.
Islamic warfare comes basically from the time of the Quran. They were tribes fighting tribes out in the desert. You raid the other side. You take its property, you take its women, you take its children. Your goal is to make the other side afraid. You raid and withdraw. Eventually, by making the other side afraid, they withdraw and you take their territory. That's what terrorism is.
But Rode told CBN News America can fight it and win.
America and Europe has unbelievable, awesome power, but we don't seem to have the stomach now to use it. Power without the will to use it is irrelevant.
One recent example came when Iran captured American sailors after accusing them of crossing into its territorial waters.
And America did nothing. Excuse me, when Iran gave them up and got its propaganda value from them, Secretary of State Kerry, oh, thank you. See, being nice helps. This was shameful.
If Washington would stand tough, he said, many Muslims would cheer.
You would be surprised the amount of Muslims would say, thank God. Would they say it publicly? Not in the beginning, because they'd be afraid that they'd be killed by fellow Muslims.
According to Rode, that's where America needs to return to its roots.
But I want Christians to believe in Jesus. I want them to observe Christian values. With that, America is safe. Europe is safe. Israel is safe. The world will be safe.
Chris Mitchell, CBN News, Jerusalem.
An estimated 8 million children worldwide are living in orphanages, and some Christians are saying enough is enough.
That's right. They're leading a movement to put these children in safe, stable, and nurturing families. CBN's George Thomas has more on this vision to create a world without orphans.
Gennady Mokhnenko is on a mission.
Статистика говорит следующее, что если в каждой церкви христиан...
The statistics show that if 1 or 2 Christian families will take 1 orphan, we will have a world without orphans.
Mokhnenko is a pastor from eastern Ukraine. Back in 1998, he saw firsthand the plight of children living on the streets and in orphanages in his hometown of Mariupol.
Я просто не знаю, как я...
I just didn't know how I could have left them on the streets. When I saw their eyes, I understood the Father's heart of God. It was a crazy idea, but I knew we had to do something.
What he and his wife Lena did was remarkable. Over 18 years, they've become parents to 32 children. That's right, 32. Most are adopted.
My adopted children were living on the streets. Some of them were as young as 4 and 5. Some as young as 2. But we knew if we didn't take them off the streets, most of them would be dead or in prison.
Today, the Mokhnenkos run the largest rehabilitation program for street youth in Ukraine.
Nobody needs to adopt 32 children like we did. My family is not the norm. But I strongly believe there are enough Christian families in the world who can adopt 1, maybe 2, and then there will not be any orphans left in this world.
Mokhnenko took that message to Chiang Mai, Thailand, where 450 key orphan care leaders met for the first ever global forum for a world without orphans.
This is serious.
Ruslan Maluta helped organize the gathering.
Our purpose is very simple. It's to activate, connect, and equip the body of Christ toward this vision of every child having a permanent, nurturing, and safe families.
Maluta believes churches and Christian organizations have to change their approach from investing in orphanages to investing in families.
It's not easy. You cannot just close an orphanage. The message is not let's close all institutions. That would actually be a wrong idea. We need to change the way people think first.
Craig Greenfield works among vulnerable children in Asia. He says the change has to start with faith-based groups.
Unfortunately, it is still Christian missions and Christian organizations that are perpetuating this model of orphanages. Large secular development organizations, they have not supported or done orphanages for many, many years.
The change is happening, albeit slowly, says Rebecca Nape, who works with a network of Australian churches helping strengthen children's rights to a family.
There is a growing awareness taking place within the church that this actually isn't the best way to care for children, and that a lot of the children being cared for in orphanages or other types of residential care aren't actually orphans. They're children with families, they're children with parents. They're there for reasons such as poverty, disability, or access to education.
But this paradigm shift is not without its critics. Here in Chiang Mai, in the northern part of Thailand, home to roughly about 1.6 million people, there are 600 private orphanages, and many of them, like this one, are run by Christians.
I grew up in an orphanage as well, so my desire is to take care of orphaned children.
Manop Chow Chalern runs Bandak Di Children's Home. His family was too poor, so they sent him away.
Since there was no school in my village, my parents sent me to an orphanage where I was able to get an education.
He admits it wasn't ideal. Now he and his wife tried to create a family-like atmosphere for the 30 children they care for. He says they only take those who are truly orphaned.
The truth is children should live with their family. But if that can't happen, for whatever reason, there has to be places like this that can be another choice for them.
Back at the forum, participants from 60 countries attended workshops and seminars on raising awareness of family and community-based care. Several speakers addressed the forum, including our very own 700 Club co-host Terry Mewson, a mother of 7, 5 who are adopted.
1. Thank you. You're welcome. That was good English.
Mewson started Orphans Promise in 2005. She learned early on that building and filling an orphanage wasn't always the best thing to do.
People, I think, still come to me sometimes and say, well, I'd like to build an orphanage. Can we do that through Orphans Promise? And we say, well, you can help us build families and you can help us help children, but we're not really building orphanages. And the orphanages that exist, we're helping to change how they think and feel into that family pod mode.
Orphans Promise works in 60 countries.
So, Eliona, how many ways can we prepare potatoes? I told you she was resourceful. Hot hate.
Mewson says while this new shift doesn't always guarantee that children will have healthy families to go back to, it's important that the body of Christ steps in to fill the gaps.
Let's step up as the people of God in whatever culture we're in, and let's take those children into a family settings. Let's help them find wholeness so that we're creating a world of healthy families.
Maluta is excited to see more and more people embrace this new mindset of orphan care.
Here is the great part about this vision, that not everyone can adopt, not everyone can foster, not everyone can even engage in a substantial way in some sort of program, but everyone can do something. Everyone can be advocate, everyone can pray, everyone can champion, and anyone who spent even some time in this field knows that it's a long and complicated process, but we have to start somewhere.
The forum, he says, is a new phase of that long and difficult journey toward a world without orphans. George Thomas, CBN News, Chiang Mai, Thailand.
Many are calling it the new drug, and unfortunately, large amounts of people are addicted to it, pornography. On this week's Digital Download, you can find out how you can help break that habit. CBN's Caleb Kinchlow explains.
In the U.S., porn generates $13 billion each year, $3 billion from the internet alone. Internationally, that figure reaches a staggering $97 billion. That's more revenue than the NFL, NBA, and MLB combined. It's estimated 1 in 5 smartphone searches are for porn, and each second, 28,000 people are watching it online.
Just based on the couples that I've seen through the years, at least 50% of the couples that are coming forward have some type of struggle with either pornography or internet affairs or some type of sexual issue.
It's clearly a problem. People have lost careers, family, and their lives to this industry. But we want to turn the focus towards solutions. Here are a few ways to break the addiction and gain freedom. The first step is rewiring your brain, and that means filtering your online access.
Covenant Eye software not only filters content, it monitors each website and search term used. It then sends a detailed automated report to an accountability partner. So as users venture into the gray areas, it allows for an ongoing conversation on how to adjust behavior. Another great resource is an app we found called Victory. It's designed to help users identify triggers on a daily basis, eliminating weak spots in behavior. In order to visually see your progress, Victory includes a calendar to track successes and setbacks. There's also an option to notify accountability partners with one click if you're feeling weak. No person is an island, and fighting addictions is no different. GodOverPorn.org centers around community. It offers free online support groups, workshops, and resources to help you stay plugged in through the fight. Experts agree. A change of perspective helps when it comes to dealing with addictions. As Matt Fradd, the creator of Victory app, puts it, I think what's really important is that we stop looking at victory from pornography as a destination. and start viewing it more as a daily choice.
Victories happen one day at a time by the decisions that we make. The important thing to remember is that victory will be won. I'm Caleb Kinchlow, and this is Digital Download.
Jurassic World star Chris Pratt is making headlines for the nod that he gave to Jesus Christ on Easter Sunday.
Yeah, the actor put up a massive cross. Take a look. He documented the process on his Instagram feed. The final shot shows Pratt and his two helpers standing in front of the more than 20-foot tall cross with the message, Happy Easter. Back in 2014, Pratt told Esquire magazine, I gave my soul to Jesus as a teenager after an encounter with a man in Hawaii. That man told Pratt, I stopped because Jesus told me to stop and talk to you. He said to tell you you're destined for great things. Wow,
Yeah,
what a great
awesome.
story, yeah. Another encouraging story, employees at a coffee stand in Washington State are connecting with customers on a whole new level.
That is right. A few weeks ago, as they were preparing a drink for a young woman, they found out that she had just lost her husband. Pierce Dunn and Evan Freeman say that when they heard the news, they just did what they always do when they come across someone who's in pain or hurting. They asked to pray with her. The customer in the next car back snapped a photo of the moment that immediately went viral, and the guys say it was just another normal day at work, and they had no idea that the moment would inspire so many people. Amen. Well, that's going to do it for this edition of the CBN News Showcase. You can find more of our exclusive coverage of the issues you care most about at cbnnews.com.
And stay up to date with CBN News through Facebook and Twitter. Hope you'll join us next time. Have a wonderful day.